Hey guys, how you guys doing today? It's Evo from Automobility Passion, and today I want to just sit here and talk to you guys about the Mercedes V12 line and why I particularly think that some of the earlier models tend to be, in my opinion, a good purchase if you know what you're looking at. Now, I can't stress enough to say know what you're looking at because as any aficionado out there will tell you, the V12 line for Mercedes, they're good engines, but like any other, expensive car for the day, they're gonna have some problems, especially now. Some of these cars tend to be about 24, 20 years old, and things pop up for a 20-year-old car. You're gonna have issues. So the cars that I'm trying to talk about here is the CL line and the SL line. So first thing is the CL. That's pretty much an S class, which is the biggest Mercedes you could buy. Well, sedan wise, it's like their flagship car, the S class. The CL is pretty much a two-door version of that car. The CL, the first generation of the CL is called the C140, and it ran from 1992 to 1999. Now, that body style I particularly really like because it's the same body style as the W140 S Class, and that's my favorite body style, the S Class. So the CL600, that's what labeled as a V12. Any Mercedes that you see 600 on the back, or the newer ones are AMG models, they will be CL65 AMG. Those are the V12 models. But particularly, this was a 1994 CL600. It was a 6-liter V12. It's called the M120 engine. It made about 389 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, which is respectable. It's not, it's not anything that's going to blow your doors off. A base model C6 Corvette's probably faster than this car because this thing weighs like, it's crazy how much this thing weighs. But honestly, the car is, I think, a good investment because prices for these cars, they tend to go around the, I want to say, 5 to 10, $15,000 range. That's for like very good examples of low miles. This is also going to fit in with the second generation. They're sort of around the same price range. These are a little bit cheaper because they're older. But that being said, if you know what you're looking at, you could probably score a very good car. Because these V12s, they run when they if you get a good one, they run like a dream. You drive them down the highway, the thing rides like the classic 50s Cadillacs, just huge boats, and it feels like you're riding on a cloud. And they're very smooth engines. They're by far way smoother than the V8s. You could barely even hear them running when you're cruising down the highway, at 80 miles an hour in fifth gear or sixth gear. And the thing is just, whisking away. Now, the second generation is called the C215. And this is probably the generation I'd recommend buying if you're not too far in it, because these are probably a little bit cheaper than the other one. I'd go for the first generation just because they don't have as many electronics as these ones. But for people that want kind of a, they want to have the electricity, they want to have electricity, excuse me, they want to have the modern gadgets or whatnot. Not really modern, but it's not as old as the other one where it's like from the 90s. This is more, you can get one, if you get a like 2004, 2005, maybe even 2006, you can have like modern, navigation, modern by them standards. Navigation, you have heated, cooled massage seats. So, you don't really get that with the older first generation. You just pretty much, I think, you got heated and massage. You don't get the cooled function. But for the second generation CL, the engines that were offered, they actually changed up the V12s. The first one is from the car that ran from 2000 to about 2003. It's a 5.8 liter V12. It makes about 362 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. So as if you noticed, it kind of went a little bit down from the previous V12. And then in 2003, they actually put turbos. They put twin turbos. It's a bi-turbo V12 now. It's a 5.5 liter bi-turbo V12. And it makes about 493 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. That's probably the one I'd buy. I think the sound of that engine combined with the power that you have at constant RPMs, it's a very nice car. And it's luxury on wheels, if you know what I'm trying to get at. It's a great car, but with this generation, the second generation it's something you really need to. These are the kind of cars that I'd recommend you probably like. Even with any car, you get a PPI, but this one you need to make sure you get like a professional pre-purchase inspection, because there's a lot that could go wrong on this generation. First off, I want to mention that every car out there, any modern car, you have usually a single ignition coil per cylinder. These Mercedes have two, I could be wrong, two ignition coils per cylinder, but you can't replace one. You have to replace them a whole. They're like a whole rack, if you want to call them. And I think used ones will run you about $1,200. So, I'm going to let that sink in a little bit. It's $1,200 per side. That's two, so $2,400. That's used, not new. That's not new for Mercedes. I don't even know if you could still buy them. You probably could. But they tend to go bad, and if it's just one cylinder, the car will misfire, and you can't fix that one cylinder. You need to go buy the whole thing. Now, there could be people out there who rebuild them. I'm not too sure. Correct me in the comments. By far, if you guys know any shops or any professional people that can repair them, put them down in the links in the description so people know if they own this kind of car, they can go out and get it replaced for cheaper instead of going out throwing $1,000 for this. Another problem that these cars have is it's called the suspension since it's an air suspension. It's called the ABC air suspension. They tend to go bad and they're pretty expensive. The shocks are pretty expensive. Excuse me. If you let the car sit for a while, it'll just go down. And sometimes these shocks being, if you get a 2001, they're 17 years old now. They could blow out, and one of those shocks is about $800, $800. So that's just the tip of the iceberg with these cars. There could be some other problems, but it's usually tends to be that the V12s tend to be pretty sound. Aside from the ignition coils and the suspension, the engine tends to be pretty sound. And if you get the 5-speed transmission, that transmission is pretty much bulletproof. I've heard nothing but good things about it. They've used it since I think the late '80s into the about early to mid 2000s, I believe, until they changed it for the 722.9, I think it's called. That's the newer one that came out in 2007. So yeah, honestly, these cars are pretty good price. Where they're sitting right now, they're pretty good. I guess you're getting a lot of car for the money is what I'm really trying to say. I'm sorry for the stuttering, but it's what I'm trying to get at is that they're pretty good. You're getting a lot of car for the money because these cars new. I think they MSRP'd for around like a base model CL600 in 2003, probably retailed for like $130, maybe $140,000. That's a lot of money. And in today's money, you can actually pick one up for what is it, like maybe $8, $10, $11,000. That's a huge discount, guys. That's insane. You're getting a $140,000 car for like $10,000. Now there are good reasons for that, and I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell me how much of an idiot I am for, recommending a V12, 20-year-old V12 Mercedes to somebody. But if you know what you're looking at, and you get a car that's been maintained by somebody who's cared for the car, you're never gonna have that many issues. People tend to hate on them because they look at all the trash heaps, all the lemons out there that people just neglect. I mean, that's like any car. If you neglect your car, if you don't change your oil, if you don't take care of the car, if you just let it sit somewhere, it's gonna break. It's a machine. It's gonna break. You're gonna fix it. But with these, it's a little bit more expensive. That being that, the cars are pretty high up expensive when they were new. Now, the top of the line V12 for the second generation Mercedes was the CL65 AMG, which came with a 6-liter twin turbo V12 that made 603 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque. That is insane. Like that car is a tank, and the sound you just can't like mess with it. The thing sounds insane. They actually used a similar engine in the Pagani Huayras, and the old Zonda used the natural aspirated V12 for Mercedes. So that's an interesting fact there. Pagani used a Mercedes V12 engine. So yeah. Now, the third generation of the CL is probably my second favorite, being right after the first. And that came from 2006 or 2007 in the States, for about 2014, when they replaced it with, now it's just the S-Class Coupe. You have the S-Class sedan and then the Coupe. There's no more CL. They killed it off the line. But this one, I think the AMG models look very handsome, and it looks like just a big brute of an engine. And it's awesome. Honestly, it's an amazing car. I've driven one, and it's smooth as heck. Like, the sound of the V12, if you put a good exhaust on it, it's crazy. But this CL600 uses the same engine as the previous one I was telling you guys about, the 5.5 liter twin turbo V12. But it's actually a little bit up on horsepower. It has 510 horsepower and 612 pound-feet of torque. So that's, it's a very respectable number considering that, it's a huge V12. Now these tend to be a little bit more pricey. I think they're about the 20, 25, $30,000 range. I think that's where they're sitting right now. I could be wrong though. But they're pricey for a reason. It's cuz this one is probably like the highest end most modern one you could get while not breaking the bank. So, it's a great car. It honestly is. It's very smooth. Again, if you get a very well taken care of one, you're gonna be happy. You could daily drive it. You definitely could do that. I don't know if I would, just because one, gas mileage, it's insane. But if you're going out and buying a Mercedes V12, I don't really think you care about gas mileage. So you could totally daily drive one of these cars, or just use it maybe as a weekend cruiser. If you want to go out, take like you and your wife out, because this is a four-seater, so I wouldn't say it's really a family car. But you could take whoever you go out with, your wife, your husband, whoever it is. You guys just take it out and cruise, I guess, down the boulevard, down the strip, do whatever. It's a very smooth running car. It's like, I like to compare it, as I said before, like to the classic Cadillacs of the 50s. It's just a huge boat. It's amazing. So, I just want to leave you guys with that. Let me know in the comments, am I an idiot? Probably, I think I'm an idiot. But what do you guys really think? Would you ever consider buying one of these, or would you maybe, you just think that it's not worth the repair costs buying one of these cars? Which are, I totally understand that they could be very expensive if not taken care of, and that's again with any car. But this car was 150. I think the newer one's maybe even $200,000 new. That's a lot of money. Not everybody can go out and just dump $200,000 on a car. But hey, man, that's what rich people do, right? That's not us. So I think for where they are right now, you could probably get a good deal on them. But I'm going to stress for the final part of this video, I'm going to stress it insanely enough. Please try to go out and get a PPI, because I don't want people going out and buying a lemon and then the thing never running right because it just has too many issues. Make sure, especially if you're buying an older model, get somebody that knows these engines. Take it maybe even to Mercedes. $200, it's not going to hurt you. It's a lot better than spending $10,000 on a car and then spending maybe 10, 15 more to fix it, if you know what I mean. So $200 isn't really that much. That's usually, I think, what PPI go for, what shops charge for. But you could definitely just, take it to Mercedes, be like, hey, I'm really interested in this car. Is there, could you guys do a full inspection on it? Let me know what's wrong with it. And then, hey, if there's too many problems, I'd say walk away. There's just no point in dealing with it. You'll definitely find a better one. So I know I kind of said we were going to talk about the SL line as well, but they're sort of, similar. It's just that the SL is a little bit smaller than the CL. It's a more sportier model. So the same things apply to what I mentioned with the CL, with the ignition coils and the suspension. It applies to the SL as well. So I just want to thank you guys so much for, spending your time and listening to this video, listening to me, probably being an idiot. But I just want to see what you guys' thoughts are. Could you please just, leave them in the comments down. Tell me if, if I actually have a good idea, or if I'm just being a complete idiot and telling people to go spend their money on something that, it's a complete lemon. Also, if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. That's how we learn. That's how I learn. I like reading the comments and learning something new from people. But go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, and just, we'll see what the next video is going to be about. But you guys have a great day. I'll catch you later. Bye.